Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the human ship, Perseverance, watching the massive space station grow larger on the main screen. Nexus Prime Station looked like a crystal flower floating in space, its many arms reaching out in different directions. Each arm belonged to a different alien race that ruled the galaxy. The year was 2387, and humans had been part of the Galactic Council for 50 years, but they were still treated like children who needed to be watched. While other races controlled trade routes and owned entire star systems, humans were only allowed to mine asteroids and build simple machines. Elena had served in the human fleet for 20 years. She had seen how the aliens looked at them during council meetings. The Zilari, who looked like walking crystals, always spoke slowly to humans as if they were too stupid to understand normal speech. The Kithara were worse. They shared one mind across billions of bodies, and they thought humans were broken because each person had their own thoughts. The worst were the Luminarch. These beings were made of pure energy and lived for thousands of years. They acted like humans were pets that had just learned to walk on two legs. "Captain, we're getting a signal from the station," said Lieutenant Torres from the communications station. "Put it on screen," Elena replied. The image showed Ambassador Chen Wei, Earth's representative to the Council. He was smiling, but Elena could see worry in his eyes. Chen had been dealing with the aliens for 10 years, and the job had made him look much older. "Elena, good to see you," Chen said. "I need you to dock at Bay 7. We have interesting news from the Council." Elena nodded. "On our way, Ambassador." As the ship moved toward the docking bay, Elena thought about how much had changed since first contact. When the aliens arrived at Earth 50 years ago, humans had been excited. Finally, they would join a galaxy full of advanced civilizations and learn amazing new technologies. Instead, they found a galaxy ruled by fear. The Council kept strict control over everything. New species were only allowed small roles until they proved they could be trusted. The problem was that the tests seemed impossible to pass. The docking process took 30 minutes. Elena left her first officer in charge and took a small team to meet with Ambassador Chen. The inside of the station always amazed her. The walls seemed to be made of liquid light, and gravity worked differently in each section to make the various alien species comfortable. They found Chen waiting in his office, a small room that felt very human compared to the rest of the station. Real wooden furniture from Earth sat next to alien technology that could probably power entire cities. "Sit down, Elena," Chen said. "We need to talk about Earth's future." Elena took a seat across from his desk. "That sounds serious." "It is." Chen activated a privacy screen that would stop alien technology from listening to their conversation. "The Council has made us an offer. They want to invite Earth into the Inner Circle." Elena's eyes widened. The Inner Circle was the real power in the galaxy. Only the oldest and most trusted species belonged to it. They controlled the best technology and the richest worlds. "What's the catch?" she asked. Elena had learned that aliens never gave anything for free. Chen sighed. "They want us to surrender our military fleet, all of it. They say it's a requirement for joining the Inner Circle. We need to show that humans have moved beyond violence and warfare." "That's insane," Elena said. "Every species needs to defend itself." "That's what I told them," Chen replied. "But they insist. They say the Council will protect all human worlds and colonies. We won't need weapons anymore because we'll be part of the galactic peace." Elena stood up and walked to the window. Outside, she could see ships from dozens of different species. Some were traders, others were Council warships. The alien vessels all looked smooth and perfect, like they had been grown instead of built. Human ships were different. They looked crude and ugly compared to alien designs, but Elena knew they were tough. Human engineers built things to last and to work even when everything went wrong. "There's more," Chen continued. "They want to hold the signing ceremony on Earth. They say it will show the galaxy that humans are ready to take their place among the civilized species." Elena turned back to face him. "When?" 3 weeks from now. All the major council leaders will come to Earth. It will be the biggest diplomatic event in human history. Elena felt something cold in her stomach. "Ambassador, doesn't this seem too good to be true? Why now? Why are they suddenly willing to trust us?" Chen was quiet for a long moment. "I've been asking myself the same questions," he said. But Elena, this is our chance. If we don't take it, humans might stay stuck in these small roles forever. Our children and grandchildren would never see anything beyond mining ships and factory worlds. What do our military leaders think about giving up the fleet? They're not happy, Chen admitted. Admiral Knox especially. She keeps talking about backup plans and hidden threats, but the politicians back on Earth see this as our path to the stars. Elena knew Admiral Knox. Sarah Knox had fought in the border wars 20 years ago when pirates tried to attack human colonies. She was smart and careful, the kind of person who always expected the worst. "What do you need from me?" Elena asked. "I need you to take a message back to Earth. Tell them the Council is serious about this offer. Tell them we have a real chance to change humanity's future." Elena nodded, but she still felt worried. "I'll deliver the message, but Ambassador, promise me something." "What?" "If something goes wrong, if this turns out to be a trap, promise me you'll call for help immediately." Chen smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Elena, what could go wrong? We'll be surrounded by the most powerful beings in the galaxy. They're offering us everything we've dreamed of." 2 hours later, Elena was back on her ship, preparing for the jump to Earth. As they pulled away from the station, Lieutenant Torres approached her. "Captain, I've been monitoring alien communications," he said quietly. "There's been a lot of coded traffic between the Council ships, more than usual." "What kind of traffic?" "I can't decode it, but the pattern looks like military coordination. Signals, like they're planning something big." Elena stared out at the stars. In 3 weeks, the most powerful aliens in the galaxy would gather on Earth to welcome humans into their inner circle. It should have been the greatest day in human history. So why did it feel like a trap? "Torres, send a coded message to Admiral Knox," Elena said. "Tell her we need to talk as soon as we reach Earth." "And Torres?" "Yes, Captain?" "Make sure that message uses our most secure channels, the kind the aliens can't monitor." As the Perseverance jumped into hyperspace, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that humanity was about to face its greatest test. The aliens were offering everything humans had wanted since first contact. But Elena had learned to trust her instincts, and right now, those instincts were screaming that something was very wrong. The galaxy was full of species that had trusted the Council completely. Most of them now spent their lives working in alien factories or mining dangerous asteroids. Their homeworlds had become vacation spots for Council members. Elena just hoped that Earth wouldn't join that list. 3 weeks later, Geneva was full of reporters and diplomats from around the world. The signing ceremony would take place in the rebuilt United Nations building, and every major human leader had come to witness what they called the most important day in human history. Ambassador Chen Wei stood on the platform wearing his best diplomatic uniform. Next to him were 3 alien representatives. The Zalari delegate looked like a walking diamond, its crystal body catching the light and throwing rainbows across the ceiling. The Kythera representative was smaller, but Chen knew it was connected to billions of other Kythera across the galaxy, all sharing the same thoughts. The Luminarch delegate was the most impressive. It looked like a person-shaped star, its energy body glowing with soft white light. When it spoke, its voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Today marks a new beginning," the Luminarch said. "Humanity will join the civilized races of the galaxy. You will leave behind your violent past and embrace a future of peace and cooperation." The crowd applauded. Chen smiled and nodded, but something felt wrong. The alien seemed too eager, too excited about this ceremony. In 10 years of negotiations, he had never seen them show this much emotion about anything. President Martinez of the Earth Federation stepped forward to give her speech. "This treaty represents everything our species has worked toward since we first looked up at the stars," she said. "We are honored to join the Galactic Council as equal partners." Chen picked up the treaty document. It was written on some kind of alien material that felt warm to the touch. The text was in both human languages and alien scripts. He had read it dozens of times, but now he noticed something strange. The alien text seemed to have more symbols than the human translation. Looked up at the Luminarch delegate. "Before I sign, could we review the terms one more time?" The energy being flickered slightly. "Of course. Humanity will surrender all military vessels to Council control. In exchange, Your species will receive full protection and access to advanced technologies. Your people will be relocated to worlds better suited to your needs. Relocated? President Martinez stepped forward. That wasn't part of our discussions. The Zalari delegate made a sound like breaking glass. All new council members must be properly integrated. Surely you understand. Chen felt his heart beating faster. The treaty I reviewed said humans would keep control of their homeworlds. There must have been a translation error, the Kithara said. Its voice was flat and emotionless. The council version is the official document. Before Chen could respond, every communication device in the building started beeping at once. Security guards grabbed their radios and President Martinez's assistant ran over with an urgent message. Madam President, the assistant whispered, we're detecting massive alien fleets throughout the solar system. They just decloaked. Chen watched the aliens' faces. None of them looked surprised. The Luminarch's glow grew brighter. The transition must begin immediately. For your own safety, of course. Outside, air raid sirens began wailing across Geneva. Through the tall windows, people could see alien ships appearing in Earth's sky. They were huge dark vessels that blocked out the sun. President Martinez stepped away from the podium. This is not what we agreed to. You agreed to join the council, the Zalari said. Its crystal body was changing color, shifting from clear to deep red. The terms are non-negotiable. Chen realized they had walked into a trap. The ceremony, the treaty, the promises of partnership. All of it had been lies. The aliens weren't here to welcome humanity into their council. They were here to conquer Earth. Military officers in the audience were already on their radios trying to coordinate a response. But Chen knew Earth's defenses weren't designed to fight an invasion fleet. Most of the human military was spread across mining colonies and patrol routes. The Luminarch raised one glowing hand and suddenly all the human communication devices went dead. The lights in the building flickered and went out, leaving only the aliens' energy form to provide illumination. Resistance is pointless, it said. Your species will be relocated to designated worlds where you can serve the Council's needs. Those who cooperate will be treated well. President Martinez stood straighter. And if we refuse? The Kithara answered in its emotionless voice. This protocol has been implemented 47 times. Resistance always fails. Your species will adapt as the others have. Chen felt sick. 47 times. 47 other species had been tricked the same way. The Council's inner circle wasn't a partnership. It was a collection of conquered peoples who had lost everything. But then something unexpected happened. The building's emergency lighting came on, powered by backup generators the aliens hadn't disabled. President Martinez's secure phone started working again, using frequencies the aliens apparently didn't know about. Madam President, came Admiral Knox's voice over the speaker. Are you safe? For now, she replied. Sarah, please tell me you have good news. I do. Protocol blackout is active. Repeat, protocol blackout is active. Chen saw the aliens exchange looks. They didn't understand what that meant. But Chen remembered briefings about backup plans and emergency procedures. The Luminarch's glow flickered with annoyance. Your military cannot help you. We have disabled your communication networks and located all your ships. Admiral Knox's voice came through clearly. Not all of them. On screens around the room, images began appearing. Deep space monitoring stations were picking up new signals. Ships were powering up in the asteroid belt. Hidden bases were coming online. The aliens had found Earth's visible military, but they had missed something much larger. For 50 years, every human military leader had asked the same question. What if first contact was a trick? What if the friendly aliens were actually conquerors, waiting for the right moment to strike? Most politicians thought these concerns were paranoia, but the military had prepared anyway. The Zalari delegate's crystal body was now flashing angry red. Impossible. Our sensors detected all human vessels. You detected the ones we wanted you to find, Admiral Knox replied. The ones we built where you could see them, but humans learned long ago not to put all their eggs in one basket. More screens lit up around the room. Alien communication networks were being jammed by human hackers. Council ships throughout the solar system were reporting system failures. Most shocking of all, several alien vessels were now responding to human commands instead of their own. The Kithra representative stepped backward. "How are you doing this? Your technology is primitive." "Our visible technology," Chen said, finally understanding. "But we've been studying your systems for 50 years, learning from every piece of equipment you let us examine. Reverse engineering, everything we could get our hands on." President Martinez smiled grimly. "Did you really think humans would spend 50 years in space without improving our capabilities? We just made sure you never saw the improvements." The Luminarch was growing brighter, its energy form crackling with anger. "It does not matter. We have conquered dozens of species with far greater technology than yours." "Maybe," Admiral Knox said over the speaker. "But I bet none of them spent their entire history fighting wars against their own kind. None of them had to learn how to win battles when the enemy had better weapons and more soldiers." Explosions began lighting up the sky outside Geneva. The alien invasion fleet was under attack by weapons they hadn't known existed. Human ships were emerging from asteroid hiding spots from behind the moon, from the dark side of Mars. The aliens had expected to fight a few patrol ships and some orbital defense platforms. Instead, they found themselves facing a coordinated, military response that had been planned and prepared for half a century. The Kithra delegate spoke urgently into some kind of communication device, but only static came back. Its connection to the hive mind had been severed. "This is Admiral Knox to all Council vessels," came the announcement over every speaker in Geneva. "You have 1 hour to withdraw from human space. Any ship that remains will be considered hostile and destroyed." The Luminarch turned to face the cameras. "You are making a terrible mistake. The Council has resources you cannot imagine. Armies that span the galaxy." "Then you better call them," President Martinez said. "Because right now, your invasion fleet is losing." The 3 alien delegates rushed toward the door, but human security forces blocked their way. "I'm afraid you'll be staying here as our guests," Chen said, "at least until we sort this mess out." As the aliens were led away, Chen looked out at the battle raging in Earth's sky. The humans had been betrayed, tricked into lowering their guard. But they had also been prepared. The real question now was what would happen when the rest of the galaxy learned that humanity's military was far more dangerous than anyone had suspected. Admiral Sarah Knox stood in the command center of the Indomitable, a massive warship hidden inside a rotating asteroid in the Kuiper Belt. Around her, dozens of officers worked at control stations that looked nothing like the simple technology humans had shown to the aliens for 50 years. The main screen showed tactical displays from across the solar system. Red dots marked alien ships, while blue dots showed human vessels. What would have shocked any alien observer was how many blue dots there were. "Admiral, the Mars Defense Grid is reporting successful intercepts," Commander Roberts said from the weapon station. "The alien bombardment force has been neutralized." Sarah nodded. "What about the Jupiter mining stations?" "All protected, ma'am. The aliens never found our hidden defense platforms." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. For 5 decades, humans had played the role of primitive newcomers to galactic civilization. They had acted grateful for scraps of alien technology, while secretly building something the Council had never seen before. A true war machine. The aliens made the same mistake that many species had made when dealing with humans throughout history. They assumed that because human technology looked crude, it was ineffective. They never understood that humans designed weapons to work in the worst possible conditions, not to look impressive. "Commander Chen, what's the status of our deep space assets?" Sarah asked. The communications officer, no relation to Ambassador Chen, checked his displays. "All Ghost Fleet units are reporting ready status. The Wraith and her sister ships are in position near the Zalari home system. The Shadow units are holding station near Kithra Prime." Sarah had spent 20 years planning for this day. While alien species built their ships to be elegant and efficient, humans built theirs to be invisible and deadly. The Ghost Fleet was made up of vessels that could operate completely silent in space, invisible to alien sensors. Each ghost ship was built inside a hollowed-out asteroid and powered by fusion reactors that produced no detectable emissions. Their weapons were kinetic, kill vehicles, chunks of metal accelerated to incredible speeds that could punch through any known alien defense. "Admiral," called Lieutenant Park from the intelligence station, "we're intercepting alien communications. The Council is in panic. They're calling for reinforcements from their core worlds." How long until those reinforcements arrive? Sarah asked. Best estimate is 72 hours for the nearest Council fleets. Sarah turned to the main tactical display. Earth's immediate safety was secured, but she knew this was just the beginning. The Council ruled through fear and overwhelming force. They would not allow one species to successfully resist their authority. Execute Phase 2, she ordered. Across human space, sleeper agents who had posed as traitors and diplomats for decades began activating. On alien worlds, humans who had appeared to be simple miners and technicians revealed their true purpose. They had been studying alien technology and mapping critical infrastructure for years. The first target was the Zilari communication network. The crystal beings relied on quantum communication relays that connected all their worlds instantly. Human hackers using AI programs designed to think like computer viruses began infiltrating these networks. Within hours, Zilari military commanders found their orders being changed in transmission. Ships that were supposed to attack human colonies instead received orders to return to base. Supply convoys were redirected to empty space. The Kythera faced a different kind of attack. Their hive mind depended on biological communication networks that spanned entire star systems. Human scientists had spent years studying captured Kythera technology, learning how their collective consciousness worked. Now they used that knowledge to inject false information into the hive mind. Kythera soldiers began receiving conflicting orders. Some units thought they were supposed to retreat, others believed they were supposed to attack their own allies. Admiral, we're getting reports from the Alpha Centauri system, Commander Roberts announced. The Luminarch garrison is under attack by our Hammer units. Sarah nodded. The Hammer fleet was humanity's answer to alien energy weapons. Instead of trying to match alien technology, humans had gone in a completely different direction. Their weapons were simple, crude, and absolutely devastating. Gravity bombs that could crush a ship into a singularity. Nuclear-pumped lasers that could cut through energy shields like paper. Swarms of self-replicating hunter-killer drones that could adapt to enemy defenses faster than any living commander could respond. The aliens had spent centuries perfecting elegant solutions to warfare. Humans had spent millennia perfecting ways to kill things efficiently. Ma'am, the Wraith is reporting contact with the Zilari home fleet, Lieutenant Park announced. On the main screen, a tactical display showed the battle developing near the crystal being's capital world. The Zilari had assembled a massive defensive fleet, hundreds of beautiful ships that looked like floating artworks. The human attack came from multiple directions at once. Ghost ships emerged from the dark spaces between planets, firing kinetic. Kill vehicles that moved too fast for alien sensors to track. Stealth bombers, invisible until the moment they fired. Targeted command ships and communication relays. But the most devastating attack came from something the aliens had never expected. Human ships began broadcasting on frequencies that interfered with Zilari crystalline biology. The crystal beings found their bodies vibrating at frequencies that caused intense pain. Admiral, the Zilari fleet is requesting permission to surrender, came the report. Sarah considered this. The easy thing would be to accept their surrender and move on to the next target. But she knew that would be a mistake. The galaxy needed to understand that humanity was not just another species that could be conquered when convenient. Negative, she said. Continue the attack. I want every alien government to understand that there are consequences for betraying trust. The battle near Zilari Prime continued for 6 hours. When it ended, the crystal being's mighty home fleet had been reduced to floating debris. The survivors were allowed to escape, but only so they could spread word of what they had seen. Similar battles raged across 20 star systems. The Kythera hive mind, confused by human information warfare, lost control of entire fleets. Kythera ships began firing on each other, unable to distinguish between real orders and human deceptions. The Luminarch energy beings discovered that their greatest advantage, their ability to exist as pure energy, was also their greatest weakness. Human weapons specifically designed to disrupt energy fields could literally tear them apart at the molecular level. Admiral, we're receiving surrender requests from 12 different alien governments, Commander Roberts reported. Sarah studied the strategic display. Human forces were winning across the board, but she knew the real test was still coming. The Council's core military, their most powerful fleets and best commanders, were still gathering their forces. Ignore the surrender requests for now, she decided. We need to make sure every species in the galaxy understands what happens when you betray humanity. Send a message to all our fleet commanders. She paused, thinking about the right words. This message would be recorded in history. It would define how the galaxy saw humanity from this point forward. Tell them that the first phase is complete. Now we show the galaxy what humans do to enemies who threaten our families. Around the command center, her officers straightened. They had trained for this day, planned for this moment, but now it was really happening. Humanity was at war with the most powerful civilization in the galaxy, and they were winning. "Ma'am," Lieutenant Park said quietly, "the alien prisoners from the Geneva ceremony are requesting to speak with you." Sarah almost smiled. The 3 alien delegates who had tried to trick humanity into slavery now wanted to negotiate. They had probably expected humans to accept defeat gracefully, like the 47 other species the Council had conquered. They were about to learn that humans were very different from those other species. "Put them through," she said. "I think it's time we had a proper conversation about humanity's place in this galaxy." The holographic image of the Luminarch delegate flickered on Admiral Knox's command screen. The energy being that had tried to conquer Earth now looked much dimmer than before, its usual bright glow reduced to a weak shine. "Admiral Knox," the Luminarch said, its voice no longer carrying the confident tone from the Geneva ceremony. "We wish to discuss terms for ending this conflict." Sarah leaned back in her command chair, studying the alien that had attempted to enslave her species. Just days ago, around the command center, her officers continued coordinating attacks across dozens of star systems. "Terms?" Sarah said calmly. "You tried to conquer my homeworld. You've enslaved 47 other species. And now you want to negotiate?" The Solari delegate appeared on the screen next to the Luminarch. Its crystal body was cracked in several places, probably from the harmonic attacks that had shattered their home fleet. "We were following standard council protocol," the Zolari said, its voice sounding like breaking glass. "Integration of new species has always been handled this way." "Integration," Sarah repeated. "Is that what you call slavery?" The 3rd alien delegate, the Kythera representative, joined the conversation. Unlike its companions, it showed no emotion at all. The Hive, mind creature, simply stated facts. 47 species have been successfully integrated into Council society. They provide labor and resources. In exchange, they receive protection and guidance. Sarah stood up from her chair and walked closer to the screen. "And what happened to the species that refused integration?" The 3 aliens exchanged glances. The Luminarch dimmed even further. "They were pacified," it admitted. "Pacified," Sarah said. "You mean destroyed?" "Military action was sometimes necessary," the Kythera confirmed. "Primitive species often resist civilization." Sarah turned to Commander Roberts. "Show them the Proxima situation." The main screen switched to display a tactical view of the Proxima Centauri system. Alien reinforcement fleets had been gathering there, preparing for a massive counterattack against Earth. Instead, they found themselves surrounded by human ships that had appeared from nowhere. The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Alien commanders, trained in elegant space warfare with clear rules and predictable tactics, found themselves fighting an enemy that ignored every convention. Human ships attacked from directions that should have been impossible. They used weapons that violated alien understanding of physics. Most disturbing of all, they coordinated their attacks with a precision that even the Kythera hive mind couldn't match. "Your reinforcement fleet at Proxima has been destroyed," Sarah said. "All 400 ships. The survivors are being allowed to escape so they can spread the word." The Zolari's crystal body flashed angry red. "Impossible. The Council fleet at Proxima was our finest fighting force." Was being the important word, Commander Roberts added. "The debris field is quite impressive, if you'd like to see the detailed scans." Sarah walked back to her chair but didn't sit down. She wanted the aliens to see her standing over them, literally looking down on their representatives. "Here's what's going to happen," she said. "First, you're going to withdraw all Council forces from human space. Every ship, every station, every spy. Second, you're going to release every enslaved species under Council control." The Luminarch brightened slightly with indignation, We cannot simply abandon the integrated species. They depend on Council guidance. They'll manage, Sarah said coldly. Humans did. Third, she continued, you're going to provide full reparations to every species you've conquered. Technology, resources, whatever they need to rebuild their civilizations. The Kithera spoke in its flat, emotionless voice. These terms are unacceptable. The Council will not surrender centuries of established order. Sarah smiled, and it wasn't a pleasant expression. You seem to think this is a negotiation. It's not. These are our demands. You can accept them, or we can continue demonstrating why resistance is futile. You cannot defeat the entire Council, the Zalari protested. We have thousands of ships, millions of troops, resources from hundreds of worlds. Had, Sarah corrected. Past tense. Commander Chen, show them the current strategic situation. The screen filled with a galaxy-wide tactical display. Red markers showed Council positions, while blue markers indicated human forces. What shocked the alien delegates was how many blue markers there were, and where they were located. Human ships had somehow appeared in orbit around every major Council world, not just a few raiding vessels but entire fleets. The aliens' home systems were now under human control. How? The Luminarch whispered. Our sensors detected nothing. Your sensors detected what we wanted them to detect, Sarah explained. While you were watching our visible fleet conduct mining operations and patrol duties, our real military was spreading across the galaxy. We've been preparing for this war for 50 years. Lieutenant Park stepped forward with a report. Admiral, the Vega system operation is complete. The Council's main shipyards have been secured. Sarah nodded. Any casualties among the liberated? Workers? None, ma'am. The former slave species are being evacuated to safety as planned. The 3 alien delegates watched in horror as more reports came in. Across the galaxy, human forces were systematically dismantling the Council's power structure. Slave worlds were being liberated. Council administrators were being arrested. Military installations were being destroyed or captured. This is impossible, the Zalari said, its crystal body now flashing through multiple colors in distress. No single species has ever challenged the entire Council. No species has ever had to, Sarah replied. But humans are different. We've spent our entire history fighting wars, not just against other species, but against ourselves. We've learned every possible way to fight, to win, to survive. She gestured to the tactical display. Your species developed faster than light travel and thought that made you gods. You conquered a few primitive worlds and decided you were destined to rule the galaxy. But you never learned how to fight a real war. Commander Roberts added, your tactics are centuries out of date. Your strategies assume the enemy will fight by your rules. Your technology prioritizes efficiency over durability. Human military doctrine is different, Sarah continued. We assume the enemy is smarter than us, better equipped than us, and has more resources than us. Then we figure out how to win anyway. The Kithera representative was receiving information through its hive mind connection. Its expression didn't change, but Sarah could tell it was getting bad news. The core worlds report that human ships are demanding surrender, it said. They threaten to destroy our capital cities if we refuse. We don't threaten, Sarah said. We promise. You have 24 hours to begin implementing our demands. For every hour of delay, we destroy 1 Council military installation. For every day of delay, we destroy 1 Council world. The Luminarch's energy form was now barely visible. You would commit genocide? Would we? Sarah asked. You tell me, how many species have you wiped out for refusing to surrender? The aliens were quiet for a long moment. Finally, the Zalari spoke. If we agree to your terms, what guarantee do we have that humanity won't simply become the new oppressor? That you won't enslave us as we enslaved others? Sarah considered this question carefully. It was a fair concern, and her answer would be remembered for generations. Because humans remember what it's like to be the underdog, she said. We remember being treated as primitives who needed alien guidance. We remember being offered friendship and receiving chains instead. She leaned forward, looking directly at the 3 delegates. But mostly because we know that what you did to 47 other species was wrong, and humans have this annoying habit of fighting against things we know are wrong. The luminarch flickered brighter. And if we refuse your terms? Sarah's smile returned, cold and determined. Then you'll learn why every species in human history eventually stopped fighting us. It's not because we're stronger or smarter or better. It's because we never, ever give up. 6 months after the betrayal at Geneva, Ambassador Chen Wei stood in the rebuilt United Nations building on Earth. Through the tall windows, he could see construction crews working on the new spaceport that would serve as headquarters for the Galactic Federation. The old council station at Nexus Prime had been destroyed, its twisted remains now serving as a memorial to the species who had died under alien rule. The galaxy was a very different place than it had been before the war. The mighty Galactic Council was gone, its fleets scattered, its leaders either dead or in hiding. In its place, something new was being built, something that had never existed in galactic history. Chen walked through the corridors where human and alien diplomats worked side by side. Representatives from dozens of species that had been enslaved by the Council were now free to govern themselves for the first time in centuries. In the main assembly hall, delegates were debating the final details of the Terran Accords, the document that would establish the new order. Unlike the false treaty that had nearly doomed humanity, this one was written with input from every species involved. Chen entered Admiral Knox's temporary office, where she was reviewing reports from across the galaxy. Sarah looked tired but satisfied. The woman who had commanded humanity's military response to the alien betrayal was now overseeing the most complex peacekeeping operation in galactic history. "How are things proceeding?" Chen asked. Sarah gestured to the displays showing various star systems. "Better than expected. Most of the former Council species are cooperating with the transition. The Zalari have agreed to share their communication technology with everyone. The Kithara are helping former slave species establish their own governments." "And the Luminarch?" Sarah's expression hardened slightly. "Still being difficult. Some of their factions are trying to re-establish control in the Outer Rim. They're telling other energy beings that humanity plans to enslave them, like the Council did to biological species." Chen sat down across from her desk. "Are you going to take military action?" "Already have," Sarah replied. "The Ghost Fleet is monitoring every Luminarch faction. Any attempt to rebuild the old power structure gets shut down immediately." She pulled up a tactical display showing the Outer Rim territories. Human ships were positioned throughout the region, but they weren't conquering worlds or establishing bases. Instead, they were simply watching. "We don't need to rule them," Sarah explained. "We just need to make sure they understand that the old ways are gone forever." Chen nodded. This had been the most controversial decision of the war's aftermath. Many human leaders wanted to establish humanity as the new galactic superpower, using their military might to create an empire that would protect Earth forever. Instead, Sarah had chosen a different path. Rather than ruling through fear like the Council had, humans would serve as guardians of galactic freedom. "The Vega system reports are interesting," Chen said, looking at the latest intelligence summaries. "The former slave species there are building their own defense fleets." "Good," Sarah said. "That's exactly what should happen. Every species needs to be able to protect itself." This was the core principle of the new Federation. No species would be dependent on others for basic security. No species would be forced to surrender their military forces. Most importantly, no species would ever again face the choice between slavery and destruction. A chime indicated an incoming transmission. The holographic image of President Martinez appeared above Sarah's desk. "Admiral, Ambassador, we have a situation developing. In the Rigel sector," she said. "Some of the former Council officials are trying to establish a new government there. They're calling themselves the Restoration Movement." Sarah pulled up star charts showing the Rigel sector. It was far from Earth, near the galaxy's edge, where Council control had always been weaker. "What are they promising the local populations?" Sarah asked. "The same thing the old Council promised," President Martinez replied. "Protection in exchange for loyalty. They're telling species that without strong central authority, the galaxy will descend into chaos." Chen felt a familiar cold feeling in his stomach. "Are any species listening to them?" "A few," the president admitted. "Mostly ones that benefited from Council rule, species that served as administrators or enforcers." Sarah stood up and walked to the window overlooking Earth's rebuilt capital. In the distance, ships from dozens of different worlds were arriving and departing from the spaceport. Trade was flowing freely for the first time in centuries, but so were ideas and technologies that the Council had tried to keep secret. Sarah, Chen said quietly, some of the human military commanders are asking if we should just destroy the restoration movement before it gets stronger. I know, she replied. Colonel Harrison sent me a proposal this morning. Quick strike. Eliminate. Their leadership, scatter their forces. What did you tell him? Sarah turned back to face them. I told him that we didn't fight a war to free the galaxy just so we could become the next oppressors. President Martinez leaned forward in her holographic image. But Admiral, if we don't act, they could rebuild the Council's power structure. Everything we've accomplished could be undone. Maybe, Sarah acknowledged. Or maybe the species that choose to join the restoration will learn the same lessons humanity learned. That freedom is worth fighting for, even against overwhelming odds. Chen understood what she was saying, but it felt like an enormous risk. You're willing to bet the galaxy's future on that possibility? I'm willing to bet that freedom is stronger than fear, Sarah said. The Council ruled for centuries because no one believed they could be defeated. Now every species in the galaxy knows that tyrants can be beaten. She pulled up images from across the Federation. Former slave worlds were rebuilding their civilizations. Species that had been forced to work in alien factories were now developing their own technologies. Most importantly, they were all building their own military forces. The galaxy has 47 species that remember what slavery feels like, Sarah continued, plus humans who remember what betrayal feels like. If the restoration movement wants to try rebuilding the Council, they'll have to fight all of us. President Martinez looked skeptical. That assumes the former slaves will fight. What if they decide submission is safer than resistance? Then, they'll deserve what they get, Sarah said bluntly. But I don't think that will happen. Once you've tasted freedom, it's very hard to accept chains again. A new report appeared on Sarah's display. The Proxima colonies, the first worlds liberated from Council control, were requesting permission to establish a joint defense pact with 3 neighboring systems. See? Sarah said, pointing to the report. It's already happening. Species are choosing to work together for mutual protection instead of depending on a central authority. Chen felt some of his worry fading. Maybe Sarah was right. Maybe the galaxy had learned from its mistakes. What about Earth's role in all this? He asked. Do we just watch from the sidelines? Sarah smiled, and for the first time in months it reached her eyes. We do what humans have always done best. We help the underdogs. She pulled up a list of requests from across the Federation. Former slave species asking for technology assistance. Newly free worlds requesting help with government structures. Young civilizations seeking advice on military organization. We share our knowledge, Sarah explained. We teach them what we've learned about fighting tyranny. But we let them make their own decisions about their futures. President Martinez nodded approvingly. And if the restoration movement becomes a real threat, then we remind them why the old council fell, Sarah said. But not as conquerors, as partners, fighting alongside every free species in the galaxy. Chen walked back to the window and looked out at the bustling spaceport. Among the ships arriving today was a Zalari vessel carrying trade goods, a Kithara transport full of former slaves returning to their homeworld, and a small craft from a species Chen didn't recognize, probably one of the many civilizations that were emerging from hiding now that the council was gone. It's working, he said, surprised by his own realization. The Federation is actually working. Of course it is, Sarah replied. It's based on something the Council never understood. People don't want to be ruled. They want to be free to rule themselves. As Chen watched, 2 young beings, one human, one alien, ran past the window, chasing each other in some kind of game. They were laughing together, completely unaware that their species had been enemies just months before. The children don't remember the war, Chen observed. Good, Sarah said. Maybe they'll build something even better than what we've created. Outside in Earth's orbit, the human deep fleet maintained its silent vigil. The ships that had brought destruction to the galaxy's oppressors now served as guardians of its freedom. Admiral Knox's promise had been kept. Humanity would never again allow the strong to prey upon the weak. But as Chen looked out at the peaceful scene below, he realized that Sarah's greatest victory wasn't military. It was proving that power didn't have to corrupt, that strength could serve justice instead of dominating it. The galaxy had learned what happened to those who betrayed Earth. Now it was learning something even more important. What happened to those who earned humanity's friendship?